Hey there folks, this is Josh, Stoney Ridge Farmer. Power Stroke. No, we didn't buy a Power Stroke. This is my stepdad's truck and this is my truck, and we've got both trucks hitched up to our flatbed trailers today, and we're milling with a purpose today on the WOODMIZER. So let me show you what the purpose is. I've got a bit of a score coming with some culvert pipe and some, we're always needing pipe for creek crossings and pond build projects and all sorts of stuff. In order to load this pipe onto this deck over trailer and also onto my trailer is a 25 footer. I believe his is a 28 footer, 1 ton truck versus 3/4 ton truck, and that's our Unicorn Dodge. And what we got to do today is fire up the WOODMIZER sawmill, and we're going to put boards in these cleats right here, okay? So we're going to put 5 across on this side, 4 or 5 across on this side, 4 or 5 across on the other side, and we're also going to do that with this trailer here. Each one of them presents its own little challenge, so each one's just a little bit different. The size is a little bit different. So come along today as we put Power Stroke versus Cummins. As we put the WOODMIZER to work today, we're going to fire it up and we're going to be milling with a purpose. It's going to be a good time. I've got an oak log and we're going to use that oak log. Hopefully just one oak log will make all of the stakes we need to make for these beds. All right, let's fire up the WOODMIZER. Woo! All right, folks, welcome to the Stoney Ridge Farm. This is a 150-acre first-generation farm project, and we got all kinds of fun stuff going on all the time. Right in behind me, directly over there, we're going to be building a 5-acre lake pretty soon, and that's probably where my permanent house is going to be. We live in a $3,500 house here on the side of the hill. So let's talk about, first of all, the tools that we're going to be using. So I'm using a WOODMIZER LT40. We're going to go through that real quick too. This is a TYM T254, and this little tractor right here is a 25 horsepower. It's got a Yanmar diesel engine in it. We're not doing a full-on tractor review. Stay tuned on the channel. We'll do a full-on review, but I want to use it for a little while before we do that. And we're offloading our boards onto the pallet forks right here on front of the tractor. So that saves our back a little bit, and believe it or not, I've got a back brace on right now because my back is about to kill me. I've had some back troubles just lifting these heavy boards. These things are super duper heavy. So the WOODMIZER LT40, we'll turn you around so you can see that. We've got a huge log pile right here, and that's oak, ash, white oak, red oak, and ash. The WOODMIZER LT40 is right here, and this is the LT40 extra wide. It's on a trailer. It'll take a board up to 36 inches wide and up to 21 feet long. That is a monster of a board. We could probably build a log cabin just by making cants, square logs. If you don't know what a cant is, that's a squared off log. We could probably build a log cabin just with the mill right here and just with lumber off of our own farm. So that's super cool. We no longer have to worry about going out to buy lumber because we can make it now. And we can also sell it, be a little bit of income in for the farm. So what we got going, pallet forks are in the widest position right here. We've got some boards that I milled the other day, and we've got to finish those up. And I'll show you those boards and we'll talk about it. So these boards are straight on this edge, and they have bark on this other edge. A lot of them have a whole lot of bark. We'll flip those up, and we're gonna cut the edges off. It's called edging the board. We're gonna get those edges off and make them pretty and straight and clean, okay? That's red oak right there. I may be able to get away with the center cut right here. Might be good enough to make myself some stakes for the beds over there. So we're going to take a few measurements. We're going to show you a little bit more about the WOODMIZER because it didn't go into a whole lot of detail last time we used it, but let's show you some of the parts. WOODMIZER terminology lesson number 1. Log deck. This is the log deck. This is where the logs sit. Right now it's got boards on it. It's a board deck, I guess. We've got the loading arms right here, these arms, and you'll see in just a minute, you'll see all this in action. They'll take the log, it'll load it up onto the mill, onto the log deck. We'll roll it into position. There is a turner. It's like a claw that goes up and will turn the log and get it into position for cutting, okay? There's also a stabilizer that comes up and slides this way and holds the log against the backside. The backside are called the dogs, and I messed up the first day and hit the dogs with the blade and ruined a blade. But that's okay, because we're gonna make fillet knives and stuff out of that with the old blade. I can't use it anymore, so I've got a buddy that makes knives. I'm gonna give it to him. He'll make me a knife. Awesome. So there's a win-win in every situation. So what we've got to do, this black thing here, we'll walk up a little closer. This is the saw head, the cutter head, and this is again the LT40 extra wide. This critter right here has got a bag on the top. It's an electric motor, okay? This is a debarker. It takes the bark off ahead of the saw blade so that you don't damage your saw blade by going through dirt and dirty logs and bark. Bark is hard. Bark is hard on your blade, so you don't want to waste your blade chewing through bark. You want to use your blade to chew through board. So that's what this thing is, okay? The extra wide means you can take an extra wide board up to a 36-inch log. I've got a GoPro stuck down here, got a little meter right here, and our blade needs to be between 2,800 and 3,000 PSI. That's how tight it has to be, okay? This is a 38 horsepower Kohler Command Pro fuel-injected engine. So we'll fire it up real quick. Right here's the key, all the little operating switches and stuff like that. This runs our debarker, this runs the saw blade, this moves it forward and backwards, this moves it up and down, and this moves your water, okay? So you see this little jug, we're gonna turn it on right now. This little jug of water is freeze proof. It's windshield washer fluid, and it helps to lubricate the blade as it goes through the board. So that's why you'll see water dripping off of this thing. If people have never explained this to you, I hope it's interesting. It's interesting to me. Now, this is a hydraulic mill. It's not the super hydraulic. They make one that's super hydraulic. I don't know what that means, but this is the hydraulic system on the mill. And the hydraulic system is what controls the log turner, the deck that moves up and down. There are a couple rollers on here that I can raise up and down, because any log you have is typically going to have a big end and a smaller end. So at some point you may have to raise and or lower one end of the log for the saw to compensate and cut and get the maximum amount of timber out of that log. All right, contact. Okay, so we're going to edge these boards, meaning we're going to take this top slice off right here, and we're going to go in 1-inch slices, okay? We're going to take this foot, raise it up, and hold these boards steady up against this log deck. Now we have to be careful that these boards don't get pulled off, okay? They're not as stable as a big solid board like that. So we've got to get them, we've got them pressed up against the dogs on the back of the log deck. I'm going to show you a measurement real quick. Wish I could show you with it a little bit quieter, but we're at 10 inches right here. So these will be 5/4, meaning 1.25 by 10-inch boards. That's what these are going to be. Basically a 1x10. This is the science behind cutting that nobody ever goes over, and that's why I'm going over it with you guys. So if you decide to get your own sawmill, you'll know a little bit. So we cut 1.25 inch by 10-inch boards. This one is good to go, okay? So we're gonna offload it, but we'll look over here at the next one. This one is not good to go. And you can see, slide it down here a little ways, you can see it still has some bark in it. So while I had the machine all the way out here, I set it to go down and cut 1 inch, okay? So it's gonna trim 1 more inch off of this board. The next board looks good. All the rest of the boards look pretty good, but this one needs another trim. Now we've got 2 other pieces down here that need trimming also, so we'll probably trim those at the same time. We'll offload these onto the TYM 254. This could make flooring for your house. It could be anything. You gotta get it dried and stored properly. That, what just happened was not ideal. So I want this thing to be up just like that, okay? Don't need to pick up the whole board if you can use momentum, okay? And I can see also this board has a little bark on the edge right there. We're gonna trim that off too. So we got 2 boards. We'll have to run back through. This one looks good to go. And we're gonna put it on the fork. Just use that fork. Very cool. And we're gonna be air drying these. All right, so these two need to be flipped back up, put back on the log deck properly so that we can shave off that bark. Now these boards are ready to go. And I went on and took these down to 8-inch boards. So they were 10, and I took an inch off, and I took a second inch off. And that way we got all the bark off the edges. So those are 1x10s, and these are 1x8s. All right, what the heck is this mess? So these are sticks. These are gonna be stickers, okay? This will go in between the boards as I stack them so that they'll dry, okay? So airflow has to get through those boards, and we use the same species of board on the of sticker on the board. So this is a 1x1 sticker, red oak. Okay, if you don't use the same species, you run a risk of sticker stain, which would make a stain right across the board. So what we have left is the heartwood, okay? And what we have with heartwood is a lot of grain that will cause that board to twist and turn. So this really isn't much good for anything other than like 4x4s or dunnage to go between stacks. We're gonna cut this down. It's a little over 3 inches. We're gonna cut it down to 2.5 inches, and Dad needs some 2.5 by 1.5 for some carts that he has in his basement. So we're gonna make those for him real quick. Okay, on the log deck, there are 2 or 3 little nipples that stick up right there, and that'll hold it in place. And we're gonna cut this guy, we're just gonna shave some off the top. So the log we were gonna use was this log right here. I can just look at it and tell this log is not going to be big enough. So we're gonna actually roll this log back against the pile just a little bit here. Always wear steel toe boots, protective equipment and stuff when you're working with sawmill and stuff. A log can roll over on your toe in a heartbeat and cause a really bad day, okay? So we got that guy up there. We actually wanna get this log here. We wanna bring it over to the log deck. So again, this is our log ox cant hook, and it's, this is gonna be a heavy log. That's all right, we can get it. Oh, there we go. Maybe we can get it. It takes some work to do this, guys. There it goes. So this is the log ox 4-in-1 forestry multi-tool. Awesome tool. Shows you right here, it can handle these big logs no problem. This is a white oak. It's got a knob right here, so we got to be aware of that knob. Probably would behoove me to cut that off first once we get it on the mill here. Who needs CrossFit when you got farm fit, right? We'll get her up here on the log deck, just like so. That's about right. I think that'll pick it up. This knob up on the top here. Sometimes you just got to do it the old manual way. There we go. Almost there. There it is. Good. This is called a slab. This is firewood right here, among other things. Garbage wood. What doesn't get burnt for firewood will go in the wood chipper and get spread out on the land here on the farm. So we're squaring off a cant. A cant is a square piece of log. The cant hook is what we're using to turn. Get it? Cant hook. Cant. So these are 1.5 inch boards that I'm cutting off right here, okay? They'll be ripped down to 2 3.5 inch boards. In other words, this is an actual 1.5 inch board, and it'll be ripped down to a true 3.5 inch board to fit those cleats over there. Pretty simple stuff. After doing my measurement, I did not compensate for the thickness of my blade, so I need to go 1/8 over 1.5 inches in order to get just the right thickness. So these will probably go on to my trailer, which is a little smaller, and the next ones I cut will be a full 1.5 inches, and then they'll be 3.5 inches wide. So I have to compensate for the thickness of the blade, which is 1/8 of an inch. Pretty cool, it's interesting. So if I'm measuring here, I've got right at 6, so I could cut basically I just need to slab this off. 1.5 inches, I'll probably get, yeah, let's see, how many cuts will I get? 3, or I'll probably get 3 or 4 cuts out of this, and then I'll take this board and cut it in 2. I'll lay all of them up and I'll cut them 3.5. Cool. You learn as you go, because there's nobody here to teach me how to do this, you know, so I just kind of have to figure it up, and the more I run it, the better I get at it. All these boards I'm rolling off over here, they'll have to be resawn. They'll have to lay back up on the deck and be cut back. This tree laid on the forest floor, so this is kind of a junk tree. It had been laying on the forest floor for somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 years. Cool, so we got a couple more 1.5 inch cuts. We'll cut 3 more, then we'll roll them all up on their end and cut them to 3.5, and then we'll have everything that we need. Guys, you want to talk about nervous? So this is the first time I've really ever had to do any precision cutting. So we're gonna see here in just a second. These are about 10 feet long. I'm just gonna take the electric chainsaw, the Toro electric chainsaw, and cut them right in 2. And we're gonna take one over and test it out. Fingers crossed, man. Hopefully they fit snug as a bug. We'll see. All right, this is gonna tell the tale. Get rid of all but one. This should be perfect fit down in here. Should I test it first time on camera? I'm going to. Here goes. So right down in that cleat right there, that's what we're shooting for. This should fit in like a glove, and it doesn't quite fit in like a glove. It's a little bit on the thick side, so we'll have to shave off a little bit. However, that's good. That's a good thing. So I cut them a little bit big so that I could shave them off and make them fit really, really tightly. So all I'll do is take my trusty knife here and do a little trimmage. We'll whittle this down just a little bit because that hole isn't perfectly square. And that should be it. It should be like a glove. Beautiful wood, man. Hate to waste beautiful wood like this on dunnage. However, this wood is wormy. It's got powder post beetles in it, I'm told. When I called down to the sawmill place, they said, yeah, that's a good thing about WOODMIZER is you got a lot of resources. Well, let's see if that did it. Let's wedge her in there just a little bit. Look at that. Would you look at that? So the whole thought process is have them in there, have them snug for when we load pipe on the trailer. Now, will these fit in the other trailer? I don't know. We'll take one over there and check it out. Same thing, I just gotta whittle a little bit off the edge here, and these are wet. They're gonna draw up. So this will be something we can use from now on. Cool, awesome. So it worked. Guys, awesome. I gotta buy a hand planer. That's what I need, is a hand planer just to plane these things down. But as you can see, what we did worked. Our precision sawmilling day was a success. Guys, thanks a lot for joining me here on the Stoney Ridge Farm. As I learn, I'll teach you, and we'll keep on working with the LT40. Thanks a lot. See you next time. Woo!
Well, come on down to the Stoney Ridge. Bring your wife and bring your kids. We're living life pure and sweet. That's the way it's supposed to be, Stoney Ridge.